Imagine sinking your teeth into the famous Philadelphia soft pretzel. The perfect blend of ingredients in the dough, the salt, the butter. I love a good Philly soft pretzel. But what if they actually weren't from Philly or even America? My name is Owen Woodward, and this is the history of the soft pretzel. Soft pretzels actually weren't made and invented here at all. Though the exact origins of the pretzel remain mysterious, legend has it that the story began around AD 610 when Italian monks presented their young students with treats of baked dough twisted in the shape of crossed arms. Sarah Pruitt of History.com states that it was actually Italian monks who first made the soft pretzel. The Catholic Church loved pretzels, and many Catholics ate them for Lent as early as the 7th century. Many people do think that the soft pretzel was invented here, and that is where the term Philly soft pretzel comes from. They were false informed that the pretzel was started here, not in Europe, many years before. Pretzels are extremely popular, and according to the New York Times, about 300,000 soft pretzels are consumed daily here in Philadelphia. That means that there are about 100,800,000 soft pretzels that are eaten here every year just in Philly. That's a lot of pretzels that are eaten in one city. That means that the average person who lives in Philadelphia eats about 1/5 of a pretzel every day, which also means that you eat about 1.4 pretzels a week. Pretzels were originally called Pretzels, which is named after the Latin term little arms. The 3 holes in the pretzel were for the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost. These treats became to be a sign of prosperity and good luck. Now you may wonder, why did the name end up being a pretzel? Well, when it started to get more popular throughout the rest of Europe, around the Middle Ages, the Germans adopted the term Pretzel for these snacks, and that's where the modern term pretzel comes from today. Pretzels were very popular throughout Europe, and they even got their own coat of arms. Yeah, that's right, I said they even had their own coat of arms. Around 1510, when Turks tried to invade Vienna, Austria, pretzel bakers helped stop the invasion. The king ended up giving them their own coat of arms, which is pretty cool if you ask me. In Switzerland, some royal couples even used pretzels as a wishbone in some wedding ceremonies. This is one of the origins of the phrase tying the knot. Now, what is different about a Philadelphia soft pretzel than any other one? Well, there's one reason that it may be different. The traditional soft pretzel is almost in the shape of a heart with 3 holes in it. The pretzels commonly found in Philadelphia look much more like a knot you would tie on your shoe with only 2 holes in it. Except for that, the Philly soft pretzel doesn't have anything different about it. Another reason that might make it special is that the soft pretzel first came to the United States around here, and that's why you can pretty much get a pretzel anywhere in Philly. As Lon Rooney of the Philadelphia Happening magazine says, maybe it's the Philadelphia Woodward, or that they are made every day with love and sold on the street corners and at every Philly event, but something makes them very special and oh so very Philly. Soft pretzels are a legacy of the region's Pennsylvania Dutch, who immigrated in the 1700s in search of religious freedom and fertile soil. As Diana Martyrs just said, pretzels are a legacy of not just the Dutch, but for everyone around and in Philadelphia. Now that brings us into our next topic. Where was the pretzel actually made first in the United States? An old rumor that is thought to be true says that it came from the Mayflower. They were used by the Pilgrims for trade with the Indians, but they were definitely brought when the Germans settled here in 1710. The first pretzel bakery established here in the U.S. was founded by Julius Sturgis in 1861 in Lancaster County, which this bakery was still run by his family until it closed in 1976. There have been other stories about vendors selling pretzels on the streets as early as the 1820s, but nobody really knows if that's true or not. Mr. Sturgis is actually the reason there is a Philly soft pretzel. Without him starting close to Philadelphia, we wouldn't be known for our pretzels, and I doubt we would make many pretzels here. Sturgis sent pretzels to his brother during the Civil War while his brother was in Andersonville prison. Nobody's really sure how he got the recipe for the pretzel, but it seems as though his teacher gave him the recipe when he was still a baking apprentice. Isn't that interesting? Someone who did not even live in Philadelphia, in fact who lived more than an hour away, got credit for the Philadelphia soft pretzel. Why not name it Litz, that is the town that the bakery was made in, soft pretzel? The Nacio family started a Federal Pretzel Baking Company in 1922, and by 1930 even gave them to some schools for students to eat. Some of the most iconic soft pretzel brands, like Philly Pretzel Factory, actually only started up recently. The Philly Pretzel Factory was started up in 1998 in Mayfair, Philadelphia. The creator and owner of this started selling pretzels at age 11 and ended up with a very successful pretzel franchise that goes across 12 states. I've talked about how the soft pretzel was made, but what about the hard pretzel that you find in bags? Now, rumor has it that Sturgis fell asleep while baking soft pretzels and overbaked them. The outcome of that was the hard pretzel, which are popular now in bags and in snacks. Sturgis claimed credit for this kind of pretzel as well as the first soft pretzel in the USA. In the 1930s, pretzels were still made by hand, but by 1935, the first automated pretzel maker was made. The Reading Pretzel Machinery Company introduced the first automated pretzel maker, which could allow bakers to make 245 pretzels a minute, while someone could make about 40 per minute if they were making them by hand. This machine allowed bakers to make more, make them quicker, and gain more profit. Pennsylvania distributes and makes about 80% of America's pretzels, while the rest of the country only makes about 20%. Now, why does it seem Pennsylvania makes all of the pretzels? Why don't other states help out as well? One reason may be that there's no equivalent to a Philly soft pretzel. Maybe it tastes like every other soft pretzel, but the aspect that it is special to this region makes it different. But what prevents other non-Pennsylvania companies from sweeping in and dominating the market? Well, many companies built in and around Philly have that hometown feel when you buy a pretzel from them, instead of companies outside the state. You know that the ones from Philly have been here for years. Now, you may think that all pretzels now are not made by hand, but that's actually not true. Some of the large bakeries actually still make them by hand today. Take Frankfurt Bakery, for instance. They get up each morning to make fresh pretzels by hand. The dough in the pretzel must be very smooth and rich and buttery for a pretzel to have that signature taste you know pretzels to have. First, the bakers mix a cup of milk in a saucepan to around 110 degrees. They then pour it into a medium bowl and pour the yeast, brown sugar, and flour in the dough. Then they slice about 2 tablespoons of butter and mix that in with the rest of the dough. Then they add the salt and the remaining flour to the mixture and start kneading it. After they've kneaded it thoroughly, they mix up the dough, then put it into large chunks of it onto a rolling machine to get it very, very smooth. Then they are put onto a rolling belt and put onto rods. The twisters take the rod, flip it clockwise, pull out the loops, and take the dough off the rods. Then they are placed in rows of 10 on a board which are placed in cold rooms until night. Now you may ask, how come people put mustard and other things on their pretzels? Barbara Tushety can be found behind the cash register at the store, which looks like much as it did 100 years ago, or twisting pretzels in the bakery. According to her, spreading mustard on pretzels, which is the way Philadelphians eat them, started in the 1920s with the selling of pretzels from hot dogs. According to Dan Goldstein, mustard is still very popular on pretzels, and many people like to have that on them. Now, I really despise mustard, and I personally do not like it on my pretzels, but many people feel otherwise about it, and that is why it is the most popular pretzel topping. There's still other bakeries but make them by hand, but many bakeries now don't. This is because it is faster and cheaper and easier not to do it by hand and not get fresh ingredients. Most of the big bakeries like Philly Pretzel Factory mass bake their pretzels and have many different kinds of pretzels like pretzel dogs, cinnamon pretzels, nuggets, and other things like that. But they all came from monks who used them as religious symbols back more than 1,000 years ago. That's very interesting, right? Something meant as a religious treat are now multi-million-dollar business that was brought here by immigrants, popularized by Julius Sturgis, and now are sold and eaten everywhere around the US and the world. There's even a Guinness World Record for the largest pretzel, which the largest one weighs 1,728 pounds as of 2015. While people may say that a Philly cheesesteak is much better and it is the real Philadelphia food, pretzels have as much culture here as poutine does in France and Canada. Pretzels still do and will stand for peace, love, and prosperity, which is all we need right now. Pretzels are the perfect snack for all ages, and they will never be out of style, even if they are not Philadelphia soft pretzels. Thank you to History.com, New York Times, Philadelphia Encyclopedia, and Philadelphia Happening magazine for my information and research for this project. Thanks for listening, and I'm Owen Woodward.